Everyone's a Feminist, part 2. Now, last week we went and dissected what does it mean to be a feminist. Obviously, it is a person who believes in feminism, and feminism is a person, not a woman, a human being that believes in equal rights for women, whether it be, it don't matter, it could be human rights, work rights, or whatever. They have the equal opportunity just like any man out there because they're human. And like I said, while we're on this journey to find out if everyone's a feminist, everyone's a feminist, we can say for sure that Christopher Joseph Gar, aka Christopher J, is a feminist. Because I want the same equal rights that I have as a man. I want my mother to have it. I want my sister to have it. I'm glad that my grandmothers had it. God rest their souls. I want my nieces to have it. I want my aunties to have it. I want my friends, female friends in my circle to have it. Those outside of my circle, I want them to have it as well. And if you want the same thing, I can say that you're a feminist as well. So, with that being stated, there are types of feminism. Now, in modern day, when we hear the word feminism, it's a turnoff. It's completely a turnoff. Because you have all these people who it seems like they malign or put their own agenda into feminism. Especially during the different waves of feminism. We will get into that next episode. The waves part. So, because we're going to figure out on another level, historically speaking, where do you fall in? Not where you was born in, based off of your belief systems, where do you fall in as far as which ways there are. So, with that being stated, we got to figure out the types of feminism. Ladies and gentlemen. Liberal feminism is one. Maybe I should, oops. Well, that won't be necessary. Actually, we could do it actually like this. Oh, such a genius. There we go. Now, liberal feminism is one form of feminism. Ladies and gentlemen, it works within the existing system for reform via laws and education to achieve equal opportunities. If you historically go look at this country, we can easily say that did the laws or did the environment entirely favored women? The answer is no. We can't be historically inaccurate. It kept women boxed in the square, or depending how you want to look at it, it kept them boxed into a particular area in the house, a kitchen nonetheless. But liberal feminism, it helps change the laws to make sure that there's equal opportunity for women. That is liberal feminism, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this one, ladies and gentlemen, might be the one that kind of turned people off, which is radical feminism. Views patriarchy as the root of oppression, calls for a fundamental social restructuring, often focusing on ending male dominance and violence. To say patriarchy is the root of oppression is crazy. That is insane. However, we can say that oppression did hide behind a form of patriarchy. We can say that for sure. Because I don't think, let me say this, and I say this respectfully. When it comes to oppression, nobody's going to think about women because they don't believe that women can oppress men back then. Now, some people say women can oppress the men now. Um, hmm. I don't know if I entirely agree with that, but I think that is a conversation worth having on Clubhouse, and I'll say to bring it on YouTube. But when it comes to, I don't believe patriarchy is the root of oppression. I disagree with that. However, I can say that oppression does hide behind the walls of patriarchy. Oppression does hide behind the walls of patriarchy. In context of this conversation, especially back then, that I can say, I can agree with that part. But to be the root of all oppression, no, we're not doing that. Calls for fundamental social restructuring, often focusing on ending male dominance and violence. Violence, I agree. See, here's the thing about violence. Violence is nothing but a tool. Violence is nothing but a tool that men and women should use when the opportunity, if the opportunity or the situation presents itself where you have to use that to protect yourself. I do agree with that. Now, as far as ending male dominance, if you believe that you should dominate any situation because you're a male, you're already off on the wrong foot. And I can agree to the idea of ending that because you just missed the complete goal of your role in your household and outside the front door. So it's not because you're a male that you should be dominant. You should be dominant. You should be able to dominate based off of other things versus the gender you're assigned at birth. Like, for example, or your dominance or your feature, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm 6'1". I am 300 pounds. If you see me, obviously I'll let people go with their narratives until they see me in person, and obviously you have to change your mind when you see me in person. But I know people who are shorter than me. I know people who are smaller than me. But I know people who are far more experienced in wisdom, to where I tend to defer to them because it's only going to make me better as a person. Not all of this. I'm just gifted to be genetically who I am. But the one exercise that you can, the strongest muscle that you can exercise is this. And there are people who have done that, not because they are male, because that's who they are. And that's what it should dominate and should control society. It has nothing to do with the gender that your genetics ain't about you XY chromosome. That doesn't mean you should be in charge. It's because of the skill sets that I give you, you need to be in charge. So keep that in mind. Next up, another form. Now, when I saw this, I was like, I was kind of looking at it sideways, but I was like, there's nothing on the table that's not worth exploring. So when it comes to socialist and matrix feminism, links gender inequality to capitalism and class exploitation, advocates for dismantling both systems. Now, remember when we were talking about Zoran Madani? I have to give you the definition of socialism is an economic and political system characterized by collective or governmental ownership and administration of the means of production and distribution of goods. So that's on the socialism part. Now the next part is Marxist. Now I'm not going to hold you guys when I'm going to look up the word Marxist right now. See, socialism for the most part I've been hearing about that, and all that means is government on a small level, government's just going to be in control. But Marxists, there's nothing about a Marxist that I care to look up. I remember somebody that used to be on the YouTube side. I don't want to say his name because I could be wrong, and these people being often miscategorized can be severely offensive, so I won't say it. Excuse me. But he called himself a Marxist. And I was like, I don't really care because I don't hear it that much. But so let's, as a family, if you know it, cool. If you don't know it, thank me later. We're going to figure this out now. You can act like you knew this all your life. Marxism is a social, political, and economic theory developed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels that analyze society through the lens of class struggle, arguing that history is defined by the conflict between the bougie and the proletariat. Now, that's nothing but classism at the end of the day. Okay. It leads gender inequality to capitalism and class exploitation. So, okay, I get it. Let's see. I don't. How much of that in my lifetime do I agree with? Because if there's going to be gender inequality, I don't think classism has anything to do with it. But that doesn't mean it hasn't happened before. Ladies and gentlemen, because unless you want to say when it comes to Marxism, I can see why, and also I can see why a lot of people stayed away from this word Marxism because nobody got time for this. Let's see. Hold on, real quick. It examines the effect of capitalism on labor, productivity, and economic development, and argues for a worker revolution to overturn capitalism in favor of communism. And I guess let me get the proper definition for that ready, because I don't know. Communism is a political economic ideology that advocates for a classless society where the community owns all property and the means of production. In theory, it is a system with no government where goods are distributed based on ability and needs, but in practice, communist states have historically been led by authoritarian single-party rule the controls of the economy. Yeah, that's if I recall correct, that's a tad bit of an oxymoron, but that goes into some political beliefs I have. We'll one day explore that, but to link gender equality to capitalism, I mean, I guess I can see it, because to a degree, but it's like, but the women will still benefit. But then again, if we're talking about capitalism now, usually who makes the most money, and usually you make the most money, you do dictate the rules. So now that I thought about it a little bit more, now that we're walking through this, I can see why. Now I can somewhat see it. I can somewhat see what they're saying. Now, do I see that in the mass level in my purview? No, I don't. But I can see why that makes sense to a degree. Okay, cool. I can get with that. I have no problem with that, because that one I somewhat bypassed, but it is what it is. And thank you guys for keeping the comments clean while I get these posted, so that way people can see what I'm looking at. Okay, and here's another one. That's intersectional feminism centers marginalized women, i.e. women of color, LGBTQIA, coined by Kimberly Crenshaw to address overlapping oppressor. And I gotta tell you, that's getting into the third or fourth wave of feminism, which we'll talk about next week. Well, second wave, people of color, that came in the second wave. Everything else came in the third and fourth. So, to this, I don't believe you should be discriminated against because you are a woman of color. I don't think you should be discriminated because you are a woman LGBTQIA. Now, as a believer of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, I can stand on this saying, although there are certain lifestyles that I don't agree with, I do believe that you should not be discriminated against because what you try to identify in your personal life. I know a lot of people say what you choose to do in the bedroom, that also counts, but that's not something I want to address. And oh no, not Genesis. Hey baby girl, how you doing? Shout out to Genesis. And of course, you guys know we're simulcast from YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and also my vertical stream right here. So I do. Okay, this one I agree with. If you're a woman of color, that should not be a shackle to you in society. Just because you choose to identify with the LGBTQIA community, you should not be oppressed because of that. You should not be discriminated because of that. Meaning in the workforce and that type of stuff, you should be treated equally. Now some people say, so can LGBT women go to church? Yes. Why would you keep somebody up? Because that's just example I want to work with. Why would you keep somebody away from the church? Congratulations, you just became your oppressors. No, don't keep nobody away from the church. Bring them. And the reason why I say that is if they want to improve their lifestyle or get introduced to who the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit is, open the doors and let them. Open the doors and let them come in and let them know how this organization is ran, or how this building is supposed to operate, or how you're supposed to operate in a body of believers. Let them bring them in. Don't keep them away because of what they choose to do, because you never know. You just never know. And I'll just tell people, if God is leading them to the church, stay out of God's way and play your position. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But intersectional feminism, okay, we can agree to that. Got a few more of these to go. I'll trust me, this is going to be a lot easier when I go back and do my shorts. Trust me. All right. Next one is cultural feminism. Celebrate women's difference in feminine traits as strengths. Let me tell you guys something. Excuse me. Maybe in the top of next year, we're going to talk about the traits of masculinity and femininity. I have an outlook that has not been explored, and it's probably going to shake some people to the course. I'm just letting you know that right now. But we'll get to that in 2026. In the meantime, celebrate women's differences and feminine traits as strengths. Based off the narrative, and this is something I always use against the brothers who will say something stupid when it comes to these dating conversations. What are women good for? That's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. What are women good for? What are the values that you see in women? I want you, matter of fact, homework, come back and we'll discuss it next week. I want you guys to go in your personal life and start asking people, what value do women bring? Especially when we talk about cultural feminism, ask them, what value do women bring? That's going to be, and I would love for you guys to record it, tag me in it, and we'll play it on the show next week, because I want to see how uncomfortable people get. See, granted, this was a conversation that no one has ever broached me. This is something I just thought about maybe in the last couple of months. A simple question, but with a lot of years of hearing people talk and their experiences, I came to the conclusion, and I just wanted to ask, like, what are women good for? What value do women bring in your life? Now, no, I don't want to. I don't want to tell you guys. I want you guys to just sit back. I want you guys to think about the responses that you're going to get from them, the people that you ask, and just come back next week and let's talk about it. Because there's so many strengths in a woman that has been overlooked because society has deemed women to be weak. And I know one thing that women are good for. No, not good for, excuse me. I know one thing that I value and respect for women that can also, I don't want to say this, only because I don't want to give anybody any, I'll say it. I know one thing that is valuable in a woman that can also make them just as dangerous as a man. I know what that is. I spoke about it a couple of times, but it goes unaddressed when I bring it up, because can you rebut it? No, you cannot. Shout out to Miss Tiff. Shout out to Miss Tiff. You guys, every now and then I see her on This Might Be Risky. Because we was in, and I usually don't bring up any Discord conversation to the platform. But I love Miss Tiff. Y'all can go back to when This Might Be Risky was in Houston. She's in the video. When I told her, when I did a paragraph on that one quality trait that women have that can make them just as dangerous as a man, her reply was throwing a bunch of tomatoes at me, and I couldn't help but die laughing in my car when she sent that. I love Miss Tiff to death. But she knows that. She knows I'm telling the truth. But the thing is, because women are looked at as the weaker vessel, people tend to overlook. Let me try that again. Because people see women as a weaker vessel in society, that's also their greatest strength. One of their greatest strengths. What did Jenna say? My value is at the walk. Why is she doing this? What is your value at what age or stage? And a certain age, a woman's value becomes invisible. That's a interesting comment, ladies and gentlemen. See, when you go, and I'll speak on this before we get to the next two. When it comes to women's value, especially in this sector that we in, there's a narrative that has been displayed, and quite frankly, Genesis, that's a narrative I believe I debunked already. If I have it, I do need to go check that list and make sure I put that on my things to talk about. When we say that women has hit the wall, for the most part, they're talking about when biology comes into play, about women, reproductions, and so on and so forth, and amongst other things. Not knowing that, I'll get to it. Let's say if a woman reached a certain age and You guys are talking about reproduction, which more times than not, they're not. They're not talking about reproduction. They're talking about when it comes to hitting the wall. Let me keep it going. Let's just say this: if you guys stop valuing women with their bodies, you'll get to really see how valuable and also where the true strength lies, and how society overlooks women, which can also make them the most dangerous. If you stop valuing women for sex, you'll actually get to see their true strengths, but also see how dangerous they can be if you continue to overlook them. I respect women just as much as I respect men, because I know how capable they are to build somebody up, but also destroy them. Help build somebody up, but also slowly destroy them. So stop valuing women when it comes to that hit the wall narrative and all this other stuff, because I can tell you one thing. In totality, women are never going to hit the wall. Let me say that again. Women are never going to hit the wall when you talk about in totality. We'll discuss that later on, because I don't think they're ready for that conversation. I really don't think. And I will ponder for the week. Actually, let me see something. Let me check the dates. Yeah, I'm gonna ponder a little bit longer on that one, because I don't know if people are really ready to hear the truth behind that. So I'll be responsible and hold on to that just a little longer. All right, next up is ecofeminism. Ecofeminism connects women's oppression to environmental exploitation. That is a fact. Historically speaking, that is true. You can go back and for the record, when we talk about oppression, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about cultural, I'm not talking about what your culture believes. For example, like, let's say if you go to India, if you go to Dubai, Pakistan, Africa, you go to all these countries where they have a culture that runs their society. What positions every body needs to play, and what position they are comfortable with playing. I'm not talking about that. Let me make that loud and clear. I'm not talking about that. And quite frankly, you shouldn't be thinking about any type of feminism outside the U.S. as of now, because we gotta get to the foundation first, which was here in the U.S. Well, North America at least. So when it comes to women's oppression, environmental exploitation, here's the thing. When it comes to gender roles, keep it in the U.S. Keep gender roles in the U.S. for context of this conversation. When it comes to gender roles, there is a position that society has deemed that everybody play. Men do this, but more importantly, women need to do this right here. Women, what demographic of women? I'll put two and two together. They need to stay home. They need to cook. They need to clean. They need to watch over the kids. And they need to have all this in order before the husband comes home. Now, that's historically speaking. And the reason why, now some people say, why is that oppressive? It shouldn't be oppressive. However, whoever was in charge of making the rules, whether it be at home first or in Well, at home. Let's just keep it at home because there's no law that. Actually, that's a lie. Let me not go there. At home, depending on where your heart resides, there's a lot of opportunity to box women in so the man can stay out and run the household or run the world how he sees fit. If you're a man of integrity, that shouldn't be a problem because your wife trusts you to make the right decisions when you're not in her presence. What room was it? It was, I believe, I did a room on Friday. And I almost forgot what that room was in regards to. But one thing we uncovered when it comes to the idea of women being oppressed, you guys know some of the narratives that they brought up back in the day about what's what I'm looking for? How grandpa always physically, whether he physically, no, how either the dad or grandfather either physically, mentally, or emotionally abused the mother or the grandmother. There's a lot of Black women who will run with that narrative. Thank God I know the people that I know who were from that era or have close ties to that era who can say that's not a narrative for the Black community. That's not to say that did not happen in the Black community. That was sprinkled around for sure. But to say when it comes to men physically, mentally, emotionally abusing their wives, including starting another family on the other side of town, this OG that is in my circle said that was a white people narrative. Back then, white people were notorious for doing that. So think about it. That also leads to another conversation. Why are Black people so obsessed with adopting white people narratives in their community? But we will discuss that later. We'll discuss that later. Because of who was dictating society and how they abuse of power was in place, it's the reason why feminism started. The problem is when you keep oppressing people, their people tend to get stronger in due time. As Black people, we know that for a fact. So how can it not be true for women? How can it not be true for other groups? When it comes to LGBTQIA, we just brought them up earlier, there's a law in play that protects them. So learn from your history. I'm just saying, learn from your history. Now this one, last one, trans feminism. Trans feminism. It is, oops, there we go. Come on. String on, keep up. What are you doing? Girl, get out of here. Trans feminism applies feminist principles to transgenders' rights and experience. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a firm believer of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So, what does that mean about those in the trans community? Like I said earlier, they're humans too. They have the right to exist in this world, in spite or despite the decision that they made. Now, is that a lifestyle that I personally agree with? The answer is no. However, you require to be treated like a human. you will be treated as such. You desire to go to work. You should be able to get any job that you qualify for. You want to get paid such amount of dollars. You deserve this. If you have the same resume, listen to the words that I say, because people always manage to fuck this up. If you have the same resume as your coworkers or counterparts or whatever, you should get paid just as much as that person get paid. We can all agree to that. That's what that means. Those who are transgender, their rights as humans should not change because they decide to transition from one sex to another. Like I said, is that a lifestyle or ideology I agree or believe in? The answer is no. However, that's irrelevant because they're still humans. That's why. So, here's the same ballpark that we all have to play in. You can be there as well. Keep in mind, the ballpark that we all have to play in. You can play there. That's fine. Totally understand. You should go to work. You should do this. And you should not be bullied or assaulted or oppressed for your decision making. I'm not going to do that. I am not God the Father, the Son, or the Holy Spirit. So I am not doing that. Matter of fact, my job from those entities is to treat you. It's to one, continue to love you. Two, treat you like a human being, and treat you the way that I would like to be treated. That simple, that easy. That's what that means, ladies and gentlemen. So, remember, and like I said, thank you guys for keeping this chat clean. I greatly appreciate it, because like I said, this is going to help when people go back in and rewatch this. Liberal, when it comes to feminism, liberal works within existing system for reform via laws and education to achieve equal opportunities. Radical views patriarchy as the root of oppression, calls for fundamental societal restructuring, often focusing on ending male dominance and violence. I don't quite agree with that, but I do, like I said, I believe oppression do tend to hide behind the walls of patriarchy. I do agree with that part. Socialist, Marxist feminism links gender inequality to capitalism and class exploitation, advocates for dismantling both systems. Now, that definition is a little bit complicated. I had to go read it and read other definitions just to make sure I have an idea. And I'm glad I did that, because on the surface level, I didn't get that at all. But when I really dig deep into it, I said, okay, now it's starting to make a little bit of sense. Now, do I see it all the time? No. But I can see, for those who experience it, I understand why this definition exists. So I get that. Intersectional centers marginalized women, i.e. women of color or LGBTQIA, coined by Kimberly Crenshaw to address overlapping oppression. Get that? Cultural feminism celebrates women's differences and feminine traits as strengths. Ecofeminism connects women's oppression to environmental exploitation, and transfeminism applies feminist principles to transgender rights and experience. So, with these being the major types of feminism, now we have a much more clearer definition, or a much more thorough definition of feminism, because on the surface level, it means human beings who believe that women deserve equal rights, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be in society, etc., they deserve equal rights. They should be treated the same like anybody else. I get that. That's why I said Christopher Joseph McGuire, aka Christopher J, is a feminist. that would technically make me a feminist. So I agree with that. And like I said, the easiest way to figure this out if you're a feminist or not. Do you want your mother, your sister, your grandmother, your female cousins, your aunties, your nieces, the women in your circle? Start with those. Do you want them to have the same equal opportunity? If the answer is yes, congratulations. On that front, you're at least a feminist. So it was understanding that, how can you not understand? How can the same principle not apply to those outside of your circle? Like I said, congratulations, you're a feminist. But this is just part 2. This is just part 2. Well, actually, let me we're gonna let me go through the common misconceptions of feminism as far as the ways and why feminism matters. We'll get to that next week. Feminism is not anti-men. Let me say that again. Feminism, even I knew this one. Feminism is not anti-man at all. It critiques harmful gender norms that hurts everyone. That's all feminism really is, ladies and gentlemen. It's not anti-men. It's not. Also, it includes men as allies and beneficiaries. Like I said, the definition of feminism doesn't mean it has to be a woman who believes in equal rights and opportunity. Men believe that as well for their women. That's why I said, yeah, I guess this makes me a feminist. Also, not all feminists agree on every issue. We will get into that next week. But the shared aim in justice and equality, yes. Now, like I said, we went through the major types of feminism. Right there alone, you can already tell where this is going to get a little bit messy when we get into part of the finale next week, when we go over the waves of feminism. But yeah, and just like we say about black people are not monoliths, neither are feminists. They don't agree on the same thing. Especially when we go to these, oh my. Okay, I saw how that could be screwed. Especially when we go into the waves. I just had to rebrush and look at the dates of when all this started. So I can already tell you right now, there's not a lot of things about feminism I'm going to agree with, just based off of my foundation. Yeah, there are some things. As things tend to grow, there are going to be some things that I don't believe in. Check the bottom ticker. What's my ideology? Christian, child of God, believer, God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, Hebrew. Go on ahead and throw that in there. Yes. So already there are going to be some things that I'm quite just not going to agree with, but that's okay because there's a common goal that we're all aiming for. So let's go ahead and get there, all right? So, with that being stated, that was part 2. Everyone is a feminist. Part 3 finale next week.